Hello, welcome, and thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Adam Diaz, and you're listening to episode number 23 of Live the Good Life from the podcast studios of Aaron's Wine Chronicles corporate headquarters in Richland, Washington. Today, we'll show you how easy it is to create a high-end steakhouse quality meal using high-temperature grilling. The specific cut of meat we will prepare is a bone-in Australian Wagyu ribeye, with a beef marbling score, otherwise known as BMS, of 7 to 8 on a scale of 12. For context, Wagyu ribeyes are a higher grade of steak than, say, USDA Prime. So the marbling, the tenderness, the flavor profile, and the juiciness of these steaks provide an experience you won't soon forget. These steaks were purchased locally from Juanito's Prime Meats here in Kennewick, Washington. The high-temperature grill used in this episode is the Otto Wilde Grill that reaches approximately 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit using 2 overhead infrared heating elements for top-down searing. If you have the right tools, crafting meals with some of the best steaks you'll ever taste is really pretty straightforward. We're going to show you, and we hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did making it. Okay, so the first step is actually preparing the meat. And again, as I mentioned, the meat is Australian Wagyu. These are bone-in ribeyes. They're well over a pound. They're probably about 24 to 26 ounce steaks when you include the bone. They're fairly thick cut, and they have really nice marbling. The marbling on the BMS scale is 7 to 8 for these Australian ribeyes. And, you know, Wagyu is one of those things where it does differ depending on where you get it from, what the marbling is like, how you prepare it. There's a lot of factors that go into it. So this is going to be a nice experiment, pairing these Australian Wagyu bone-in ribeyes with some great wines. We'll talk about the wines in a little bit, but to prepare the steaks, what I've done is I've taken a tray and basically filled the bottom of the tray with kosher coarse salt. Then I took the meat and I hand rubbed it with coarse ground pepper and sea salt. And I did that, I used Mediterranean sea salt and coarse ground, they call it the rainbow peppercorns, different colored rainbow peppercorns. And so I just kind of hand pack the salt and the pepper on both sides of the steaks, and then I put them on a little grid to keep them above the salt, and they sit there and they essentially dry out. And what happens is this dry brining process, the salt on the surfaces of the meat and on the tray tend to absorb moisture, and when it's on the surface of the meat, the salt draws the moisture from the inside parts of the steak to the outer surfaces. So you'll have more moisture on the top and bottom surfaces of the meat instead of it being inside the meat. And this is critical when you put the meat on a very high temperature grill or in a high temperature broiler like we're going to do. It's critical because what it does is it enhances the Maillard effect, which is the effect that chemically changes and gives you that crust, that steakhouse crust, when you sear the meat on both sides. You can Google it. It's called the Maillard reaction, and it is enhanced when you have higher amounts of moisture at the surfaces of whatever you're grilling, and that's what the dry brining does. So I put these in the fridge for about 24 to 48 hours. You can go up to as long as 3 days, so 72 hours, but that you start to get a little bit of funkiness in the meat sometimes. So I like to go 1 or 2 days just resting in the fridge like this, and then I pull them and grill them. So that's step number 1, and we'll be back. Okay, one of the next really important steps after you prepare the meat and you get the meat into the fridge to do the dry brining is to prepare the herbs for after you pull the meat off the grill. And what I like to do is get fresh chives, chop them up, dry them out just a little bit for about an hour, along with some coarse salt. And that's what we'll use to top the meats after they're pulled off the grill. And then, of course, during the grilling process, I also like fresh rosemary and thyme. And these two together in the iron skillet with the cast iron skillet with butter, basting that over the meat after it's been pulled out of the high temperature broiler. That's what really gives it some amazing flavor. So the three main ingredients, again, or four actually for spices, are the chives, the coarse salt, rosemary, and thyme. We'll be back. Okay, well, next step is about two and a half hours before we're actually going to eat. I decided I'm going to go ahead and open up this bottle of wine and decant it. Now, this is a Tranche 2015 Cabernet Franc, and it's estate grown on the Blue Mountain vineyards there for Tranche Cellars in East Walla Walla. I've had a number of their wines, and they're really, really good. The winemaker, Spencer Williams, out there does great things. Corliss family owns it. And so anyway, I think this Cabernet Franc is going to go really well with the steaks that we're preparing here in just a little bit. So I typically, have a little tool that I use to score the outside of the bottle to take off the foil wrap. And I like to use this opener. I don't typically use these types of wine key openers. I don't like them. A lot of people love them. Soms use them. A lot of people in the wine industry prefer them. I like this old-fashioned guy right here. I just think that it works so much easier. You don't bend the cork when it's coming up. It's not bent like when you use those other wine keys. Just do this, pop it out. Then, you want to make sure that you take a good whiff of the cork to make sure that it's not cork tainted. This one smells delicious. So just add this to my collection right here. Then I aerate the wine. So I have a Venturi nozzle here. I just pour the wine through. It's got a little filter in the top, and you can kind of hear it introducing air into the wine stream as it pours down into the decanter. This is a nice way to impart some air into the wine and start the breathing process here before you want to really enjoy it. 2015 was a nice hot year too. I think this is going to be a great wine. Okay, so literally it only takes a few seconds to do that. Set that down, swirl this, set the decanter up here, and we're good to go. So we're looking forward to this Tranche 2015 Cabernet Franc from the Blue Mountain Vineyards in East Walla Walla. We'll be back. Okay, we're here, and co-host and brother Adam is actually filming today for me, and he will be doing the taste testing as well for the wine pairing with the meat. So you see what we've got outside. We're going to do this high temperature grilling experiment with bone-in Australian Wagyu ribeyes. These were put on the bed of salt, like I told you, 48 hours ago. So it's been about 2 days now, and they've dry brined. We've got the butter and the herbs for basting them once we get them off the broiler. So I'm going to put this guy in here and get that. You got that good butter and hot, melted. And I notice you have your glove on, right? Yeah. This is a fireproof glove. Really a good deal. So in order for the mic to pick up on me, why don't you can come over around here and maybe get some views of the grill. Now the grill is hot right now. It gets up to 1,500 degrees.
And that's a broiler,
That's
right?
a broiler. It's top down and it's infrared heating. It's called the Otto Wilde. I've had it for a while, and it actually is a really, really good broiler for giving the sear that you need on these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in, and I'm just going to do it like this. Set these in here. Okay.
All right.
Now, I'm gonna actually lift them up a little bit so that they're closer to the actual heating elements. I can control the level. Oops. Take that.
This one out.
There we go. Okay, now you can probably get an angle view in there.
Yeah.
Get down and you can see the flame. If you come down here, there you go.
Yeah.
You can see the red elements.
So that's
flame.
searing it and getting that crust and searing it to keep all the juices in.
Oh yeah. Now I'll check on the butter. Butter's looking good.
And what'd you put in there?
Now this is thyme and rosemary.
Okay.
It's thyme and rosemary butter. It's simple, but it's really effective. Got to get all of this good and hot. And we'll leave that in there for a little longer. Now, these guys are starting to sear quite nicely. So they're only going to stay in there about a minute and a half or so. And then I'm going to pull them out and put the other side in, and we'll continue that. This gives it a nice
So how
sear.
hot is that?
This is between 1,400 and 15 or 1,550. That's kind of the range, degrees Fahrenheit.
You're about ready to turn those.
Yep. So I'm going to pull it out. And we're good to go.
All right.
So there's another 90 seconds, and then we'll pull them off and we'll put them in the pan and start frying them.
And then move over here.
All right, let's check this again. Yeah, this is nice. I like to just bathe the herbs, the fresh herbs, the thyme and the rosemary, just bathe them in the butter and let that butter absorb those flavors. Oh yeah, that's gonna be nice. Oh, it's looking good. Okay, we are back and we are going to go ahead and pull these guys out. The first thing I'm going to do is turn them off from up here. So that turns off the infrared heaters. They're still cooking a little bit. Turn the gas off. Then what I'm going to do is open this guy up. Butter is ready to go. And that's perfect. You can hear it sizzling. So now I'm going to pull these guys out one at a time. This guy, and you can see that crust on there. You can see that blackened crust. That's perfect. I'm going to set this guy up on top. And I'm going to put this guy in the pan. They're going to barely fit in the pan. I actually measured it. They're perfect fit right there. Look at that.
Okay.
10 inches from here to here. And this is a 10-inch pan.
That's going to help get that crust.
Yeah. Okay. So now this is done. It's turned off. Now, what we do is we let this thing just sear, and we take this butter and we do this. See that? We're just taking this butter and searing it, or wetting the surface of this guy. Look at that. Yeah. And that's all you need to do, is to just do this a couple times. Now I'm going to flip it over. Look at that. Now you can also see it browning quite nicely. Yeah. You can smell it when you're here over the grill. You can smell those herbs, and they're just amazing. So I'm going to let that just absorb some of that butter. Just drain it a bit, put this guy up, and I'm going to put this guy down in here too. He's the next victim. And again, right perfect dimensions. It just soaks up the butter like nothing else. Now I'm gonna turn this guy over. Yeah, look at that. That is a work of art. Okay, I think I'm done with that. The next thing I'm going to do is exactly like the other one. I'm going to drain this guy quickly, get some of that off so it doesn't start a huge fire. I'm going to put this guy up here, and I'm going to pull this guy off. Now I'm going to close it, turn it down a little bit, and just let it bake for just a couple of minutes, because that outside heat that gets the surfaces nice and crusty, it doesn't go all the way through a real thick steak for a while. So we wanted a true medium rare. That's the way my brother and I like our steaks. And with this last couple of minutes of baking, we're gonna get there. We'll be right back. Now I'm gonna go ahead and turn the grill off, and we're gonna pull these steaks, let them rest, and go upstairs and get the rest of this.
And it's only been a few minutes, really.
Yes.
Fair to say?
It's only been just a few minutes. I mean, literally a minute and a half on each side over there. And then over here, another just couple of minutes. Look at that. Oh, we got a little bit of fire.
I think it's important, we were discussing this, that just because of what you have for the butter and the oils on it.
Look at that.
You kept your grill at medium, and then you put them up high because of exactly that.
Yep. You don't want them to flame up. If you put them right down on the grill, which you don't need to because you're getting the sear,
they'll overcook.
Yep. Okay, you are familiar.
Wow. This is an exciting time here. This is the part I've been waiting for.
So here we go. Here's the spread. Today we've got the Australian Wagyu bone-in ribeyes, and they're BMS 7 to 8. Now BMS stands for beef marbling scale. We've talked about it in one of the earlier podcasts, and it goes on a scale of 1 to 12. So 7 to 8 for American Wagyu or Australian Wagyu is kind of the top of the line there. You don't really get into the 10s, 11s, and 12s until you get to Japan. And so that's what these steaks are. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take some chives, and we're gonna sprinkle some chives on this guy, fresh chives. We'll do the same with the other one. And then we're going to take some coarse salt, and we're going to do a little bit of this. I'm going to do the same on this guy. And if you care for more salt, we can add more salt, whatever. We have a couple of deli salads that we got, a bacon pasta, and then a potato salad. We have an Asian salad here, which is greens with an Asian sweet sesame oil. And then we put together some Italian bread, basically. This is brioche buns. They've been buttered, they've been seasoned with Italian seasonings, and then they have a 4-cheese mix of Asiago and Parmesan and Romano and something else, I forget.
Yeah.
But anyhow, those should be really good. This is the spread, and we're going to go ahead and serve up, and then we'll revisit you when we're at the dinner table. Okay, so we're here, and we've got the spread. Man, it looks really, really good. Yeah, I'm going to turn the light on here. Add a little bit of light anyway. You can see these steaks. They take up almost the entire plate. They're looking really delicious. Adam's going to cut into his and see what he has. Is that...
oh, look at that.
Is it...
right on. Right on the money.
Yeah, yeah.
Right on the money.
Okay. So, we're going to go ahead and eat, and then we'll be back and talk about the pairing with the wine in just a bit. Okay. Actually, we just finished the meal, and we are preparing the backgammon board for my brother's demise. We are very active backgammon and cribbage players. He's also an avid chess player, but I don't do a whole lot of chess.
You gotta think. You gotta be smart for that.
Yeah. Anyway, so we are drinking the wine now, and we've finished the meat. The meat was, as far as I'm concerned, the meat was...
It was good.
Very good. Very rich. It was nice and rich and crispy, and it was juicy.
The herbs, that crust was really profound with the herbs and stuff.
Yep.
You can really taste
the butter, the thyme, the rosemary.
Rosemary, yeah.
And you could get that umami flavor, and that when you had the charred fat and the meat, and you got a bite of that, and it kind of explodes in your mouth, and then you wash it down with the wine. My take on the wine was that it's a Cab Franc. It was medium bodied, and it was a nice complement to the really rich, heavy steak that we had. I'll let Adam kind of give him his thoughts.
No, I agree. Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
It paired well with it.
Right. If it would have been a big wine that just slaps you in the face, you would have had like a full-bodied big wine that's overpowering, and then a steak that is juicy and full of umami and overpowering, and they kind of might have clashed a little bit. This was a perfect pairing. I really like that Cab Franc from 2015. Was a hot year, and it was a great Cab Franc. Nicely done Tranche Cellars. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here and play some backgammon and phase out the evening. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time. Many thanks to our audience for joining us on Live the Good Life. We hope you enjoyed our introduction to high-temperature grilling. And that's all we have for today's episode. Again, for more of Living the Good Life, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Aaron's Wine Chronicles or online at aaronswinechronicles.com. And for a video podcast version of this episode, visit my YouTube channel at the @ Aaron's Wine Chronicles 6666. Thank you all again for listening, and remember, wherever you go, whenever you can, always live the good life. Until next time.